After all, what we really long for is just a quiet life, not a kind advertising self-help books or retirement brochures, but a kind that feels like breath, simple, steady, and fast. A life where the world inside us becomes more spacious than the world outside. A life where we're not dragged around by expectation of ours or anyone else. A life where we can finally hear ourselves think. For so long, I thought a quiet life meant perfect eternal conditions. A stable career, a good salary, a garden house with my parents, monthly travel with friends, soft evenings, and or a comfortable true future. I thought peace was something I could arrange like furniture, but life, with its endless sense of humor, eventually arrives to correct us. It doesn't hand us wisdom gently. It hands us experience, some soft, some violent, and waits to see if we can read the lesson between the lines. For me, the lesson began in the middle of the night. My father fell ill. My mother had the money to take him to the hospital, so she kept calling again and again, reaching out into the darkness with nothing but desperation in her hands. But at night, I had turned off the internet. The world on my side, in a small room in China, was peaceful, undisturbed. There was not. I woke up the next morning to a long list of missed calls. Each one's were quiet records, suffering I hadn't heard. There's a particular heaviness that comes when you realize you slept through someone else's crisis. It settles in the chest like cold water, not guilt, exactly something softer, something slower. A dawning awareness of how fragile the threads of family truly are. And because I was living abroad, all I could do was to manage the crisis through a phone screen, trying to stitch solutions together from thousands of kilometers away, trying to sound steady, even confusion and worry twisted in my stomach. That morning marked the line between the life I believed I controlled and the life that was actually unfolding. After the illness, my dad's body was quickened. It had shaken something deeper. I could see the fear inside him, the kind that makes a person feel small. And fear rarely comes alone. It brings its cousin, anger, suspicion, self-preservation. He demanded things, refused advice, insisted he knew what was the best for his body, blamed my mother for not taking care well of him, clung to whatever false solution he miscreated. He wasn't cruel by nature, but illness has stripped away his usual patience and revealed a raw, fragile core he didn't know how to protect. My mother hovered around him, loyal but exhausted. One evening, over the phone, "You don't understand anything," he shouted at me. "You don't know what it feels like. You only know how to give orders. You think money solves everything?" I felt something hot rise inside my chest, a mixture of shock, sadness, and a kind of anger I didn't want to acknowledge. I was speechless, impotent. That night, I lay in my room back in China, staring at the ceiling. Even though it was thousands of kilometers away, the argument followed me. It lived in my chest. I thought of my mother along with him. I thought of the missed calls. I thought of how fragile everything suddenly felt. How quickly life can rearrange itself without your permission. There is a certain loneliness that belongs only to people living abroad. It's not about friendlessness or emptiness. It's the loneliness of knowing that when something happens at home, you are not there. You are just a voice on phone, a pixelated face on screen, delayed solution, a late arrival. And my relatives, when he was studying in Ireland, more than 10,000 flights from Ireland to Vietnam, and one day his father died. He couldn't manage to fly back home. What he could do was just praying for him, for his dad, feeling impotent, helpless. But I think my relative was much stronger than me, much stable than me. He could withhold that situation and stand well. I'm not sure that I can do as good as him. I used to believe independence was freedom, but at night, I learned it can also be exile. The only person managed to break through the frost inside me, who is my dad doctor. He noticed the way how I hovered anxiously over my father, and the way my sentences were tight, controlled, as if I was trying to hold everyone together with drama alone. He said quietly to me, "Be calm with a patient. When someone fears for their life, they stop acting like a person. They act like an animal trapped. Fear changes behavior. You must not take it personally." In that moment, something inside me loosened. Not forgiveness, but understanding, a step even deeper. Sometimes, understanding is the first form of love. All my life, I thought taking care of my parents meant upgrading their conditions, money, comfort, a cotton house, good food, a healthy environment. I believed that if I could offer them the best external life, their internal life, internal happiness would naturally bloom. But illness shows me the truth. Conditions do not create calmness. Comfort does not create morality. Beautiful houses do not protect the mind. In fear, my father forgot kindness. In worry, my mother forgot her own needs. In responsibility, I forgot my own heart. And I realized something painful. Much of what I called care was actually the desire to soothe my own guilt, my own longing, my own expectation for being a good son. It wasn't wrong, it just wasn't complete. Real care requires empathy, not money. Real care needs patience, not solutions. Real care means understanding someone's suffering even when they cannot express it gently. Life doesn't ask permission before it teaches. It simply creates a situation intense enough that you cannot escape the truth anymore. The truth was this. I had been living with illusions about my family, love, responsibility, and what it means to be a good person. When illness entered our lives, those illusions dissolved like the salt in boiling water. What remained was wrong, fear, anger, worry, miscommunication, helplessness. But beneath all of that, I found something unexpected, the beginning of wisdom. I started seeing my father's fear instead of his anger, my mother's exhaustion instead of her silence, my own expectation instead of my disappointment. When illusions fall away, life becomes clearer. Not easier, just clearer. And clarity is worth everything. Back in China, in my small apartment, a bit of painting again. Not to improve, not to post, not to show anyone, also not for YouTube. Just read. Just let me have my time to get back to my soul. The apartment was quiet most nights. I set up my pens, colors I hadn't touched in months, brushes stiff with netlet, a canvas leaning against the desk like an old friend I hadn't seen since childhood. The moment the first stroke landed, something in me softened. Painting doesn't ask you to be logical or strong. It just asks you to be honest with yourself, emotion, your soul, your thought. Some nights I painted chaotic lines, draw, dread, sharp. Some nights I painted colors that felt like silence, blues, reds, soft drinks. Some nights I painted without knowing what words. Painting, letting my emotion take shape before my mind could interpret them. Each page became a mirror of my inner world, reflecting truths I didn't have words for yet. Painting didn't solve my problems, but it gave my heart a place to rest. I used to think spiritual clarity came from meditation retreats, monasteries, long walks in the mountain, or books by Buddhist teachers. But clarity arrived in the most ordinary places, in my father's angers, in my mother's tired voice, in the hospital hallway, in the midnight screen full of missed calls, in a quiet apartment in China, in paint drying slowly on canvas. Clarity whispered, life is not yours to control. People are not yours to fix. Happiness is not an external achievement. Peace is not a condition. It is practice. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't holy even. It is just simple. And that simplicity really changed me a lot. All my life, I measured myself by how others felt. If my parents were happy, I was a good son. If friends approved, I was a good person. If society praised me, I was successful. But illness showed me something different, totally different. You can give everything and people can still be unhappy. You can love deeply and people can still misunderstand. You can sacrifice and people can still blame you. The heart cannot rely on external weather. Do you agree with me? I see that very clearly, so I let go, not of love, but of expectation. I no longer seek happiness through outer satisfaction. I no longer measure my worth by someone else's emotional state. I no longer let guilt wrap me around like a puppet. And in letting go, something surprising emerged. Freedom. The kind that feels like opening a world in a room that has been stalled for years. So, what is a quiet life? It's not silence. It's not money. It's not comfort. It's not the absence of chaos. A quiet life is an inner posture. It's an ability to remain certain and centered, even when the world trembles. It is loving without controlling, offering without expecting, carrying without drowning, walking through chaos without becoming chaos, creating beauty even in the middle of suffering. Quiet life is a soul that no longer shakes with every storm. It's in the heart that understands. Peace cannot be built outside. Peace must be grown inside. And once you understand that, life becomes softer, not because it changes, but because you do. Liam, this is the genuine and earnest words I want to tell you for that so long time. I love you for surviving that night. I love you for waking up to missed calls and not collapsing under the weight. I love you for holding your family together through a phone screen. I love you for arguing, for breaking, for healing. I love you for seeing your father's fear instead of only of his anger. I love you for softening instead of hardening. I love you for picking up paintbrush when life felt unbearable. Love you for choosing clarity over bitterness. Love you for learning compassion the hard way, and for becoming someone who seeks peace, not through perfection, but through presence. Every lesson, even the painful ones, has shaped you. Every misunderstanding has widened your heart. Every moment of loneliness has taught you how to stand on your own spiritual feet. And you are building the quiet life you once thought existed somewhere outside. In a house, in money, in conditions. But it is blooming inside you instead, quietly, steadily, beautifully. And that's enough, more than enough.